Chocolate is one of the most famous desserts and delicacies that our world has ever seen. Produced from the cacao pod, which is found in South America
Artlist.io.
and West Africa, typically it is grown in rainforests, can be grown in shaded biomes, but generally these days it is being moved towards more of a monoculture as cacao continues to spread through the world as its popularity only steadily increases.
Music
This
licensing
monoculture
reimagined.
attitude towards growing cacao has a profound impact on the environment, hurting it much more than if it was grown in just its normal forest environment. However, these monocultures produce an
Artlist.io.
extremely large amount of cacao. Shown by my sources, it says that the GDP of Ghana, about 3.4% of that comes strictly just from the production and exportation of cacao. And Cote d'Ivoire, which is on the west coast of Africa, has
Music
7.5%
licensing
of its entire
reimagined.
GDP come from the production and exportation of cacao. So, the reason I'm focusing on cacao is because there's a chocolate pie that is my grandmother's recipe. It's been passed down to me. And it's
Artlist.io.
extremely important to me and my family. At almost every family gathering, this pie is present. It's been there for my entire life whenever we get together to celebrate a holiday, such as Thanksgiving or Christmas, and it's really important as a tradition for us. And I think
Music
that keeping this
licensing
family connected
reimagined.
and passing down these recipes is one of the most important things that we as a family can do. It's one of our rituals almost, and it brings us a lot closer together as a family.
Artlist.io.
Because when this pie comes out, everyone gathers around as a family to eat it, and it's almost a universal thing because chocolate is so universally loved that no one has a problem with it, and it really brings us together as a family. But cacao not only
Music
has an impact on
licensing
our family,
reimagined.
but many families around the world. In society, many jobs are created because of cacao. However, this also means that a lot of underpaid people are working on cacao plantations, and this has a profound
Artlist.io.
impact on a lot of families that could be making a much better living for themselves, but are stuck working on these cacao plantations for abysmal wages. These cacao plantations have a chance to be super regenerative and sustainable. However, you drift towards monoculture
Music licensing
growing really
reimagined.
stops it from being so. Another thing that the increase in cacao production has changed is along the cacao belt, which follows along these
Artlist.io.
heavy productions countries such as the Cote d'Ivoire and Ghana. It's an increase in migration because there is cheap land in these rainforest biomes or places that this cacao can be grown really well, and people see it
Music
as a
licensing
chance to make a lot of money
reimagined.
because there's local workers looking for work, and there's cheap land, and they can get both and make a huge profit very quickly. However, chocolate isn't the only ingredient in this pie that I'm making. I'm not specifically
Artlist.io.
talking about another specific ingredient, but I am going to talk about a little bit about the history of pies themselves, because in America they do have a rich history, along with as in England especially. Originally, pies were more suited to just being a baking dish.
Music
Because the pie
licensing
crust itself
reimagined.
was the baking dish that the food was cooked in. It was a storage container, if you will. It was actually the only form of baking container that people had for a while. They would have these very thick wheat and water based crusts
Artlist.io.
that would be super hard, super dried out. They would be cooked for hours in the oven and would end up coming out inedible, so the crust itself used to not be eaten, whereas now they're thinner and cooked in a dish with the crust not actually as the baking dish itself, and they come out flaky and delicate, and it's one of the
Music
reasons that we
licensing
enjoy pies so much
reimagined.
today. Pies also weren't originally sweet as this chocolate pie that I'm making in the video was. They were originally meat pies or mince pies that would actually be the main dish for
Artlist.io.
people's foods, and they still are today, such as shepherd pies and meat pies are still available. However, when someone mentions the word pie nowadays, we tend to think towards the more sweeter aspect. Cacao also has a rich history in rituals themselves, because the Aztecs had a heavy influence on cacao.
Music
They would
licensing
have these
reimagined.
rituals based around it, and they would drink it. It was a very ritualistic thing for them, and it was really important to their culture, which is where chocolate actually originated from before it spread to Europe.
Artlist.io.